The air in Lutetia in April 2025 was a complex tapestry of scents and sensations. It carried the cool, damp breath of the Seine, mingling with the ancient aroma of rain-washed limestone that had stood for 2 millennia. Beneath these timeless notes, though, was the sharp, clean tang of modern energy conduits and the subtle, evolving scent of bio-design composites used in cutting-edge construction. The city itself felt like a living, breathing palimpsest, where every street corner, every facade told a layered story of convergence and continuity. Grand avenues, undeniably laid out on the rigorous grids inherited from Roman town planning, were not merely lined with buildings, but defined by structures that seemed to organically fuse disparate eras. Here, the robust, unyielding foundations and elegant load-bearing arches of classical Roman engineering were seamlessly integrated with decorative elements, stonework techniques, and geometric patterns drawing deeply on ancient Celtic artistic traditions. Intricate interlaced patterns, swirling triskelions, and stylized animal forms, reminiscent of Latin master metalwork or the carved stones of forgotten hill forts, were not confined to museums. They were alive in finely dressed facades, wrought iron balconies, and etched into the programmable surfaces of dynamic digital displays shimmering with flowing light sequences echoing ancient knotwork. The dominant language spoken on the bustling streets of Lutetia, in quiet courtyards, and within humming towers of commerce and administration, bore a clear linguistic relationship to the Latin of Roman Gaul. Yet its cadence was utterly distinct, less flowing and more punctuated, with a subtle guttural resonance and a scattering of vowel sounds and consonant clusters alien to speakers of French, Spanish, or Italian. Its vocabulary included not only Latin-derived terms, but also words and grammatical structures hinting at a deep surviving substratum from the languages of the indigenous Celtic tribes. This was the tongue of the Gallic Republic, Langue Galli, a language evolved in isolation and synthesis, a living echo of the deep past that had shaped this nation. It was April 2025, and Lutetia stood as the vibrant, dynamic capital of the Gallic Republic, a major Western European power whose unique history stretched back over 15 centuries to a pivotal moment in the twilight of the Western Roman Empire. This was a world shaped not by fragmentation and the eventual dominance of Germanic kingdoms, but by the enduring strength of a Celtic heart beating in concert with a Roman mind. The divergence point was sharp and decisive, occurring in the early 5th century CE. As the centralized authority of the Western Roman Empire withered, its vast provinces, including Gaul, faced immense pressure from migrating Germanic peoples, Franks from the northeast, Burgundians settling in the east, Visigoths in the southwest. In our history, this period saw the gradual collapse of Roman administration, the rise of competing barbarian kingdoms, and the eventual emergence of the Frankish realm as the dominant power, laying the groundwork for medieval France. But in this timeline, the story unfolded differently. Facing a common existential threat, the disparate elements of Gallo-Roman society and the surviving, still vital Celtic communities in central and northern Gaul forged an unprecedented alliance. It wasn't a smooth or immediate transition. Tensions existed between the highly Romanized landowners and administrators clinging to vestiges of imperial order, and the more traditional Celtic chieftains in less Romanized or resurgent tribal areas. Yet, the necessity of survival, coupled with the emergence of remarkable leaders from both backgrounds, fostered a fragile but ultimately successful unity. Figures like the fictional Marcus Valerius, a Gallo-Roman vir illustris with extensive Loire Valley landholdings and a history commanding local levies, and the equally fictional Brennus, a charismatic Carnute chieftain known for his strategic acumen and ability to rally warriors from across several tribal groups, are celebrated in Gallic histories as architects of this unity. They reportedly met in besieged Orleans, negotiating a military and political compact prioritizing collective defense over regional autonomy or adherence to a crumbling distant empire. Remnants of Roman legions, cut off and disillusioned, were persuaded to pledge loyalty not to a new emperor but to this nascent Gallic entity. Local militias, often led by men with mixed Gallo-Roman and Celtic heritage, formed the backbone of the defense. This unified force, drawing on Roman military discipline and logistics alongside the ferocity and adaptability of Celtic warrior traditions, proved surprisingly effective. Key battles, like the fictional Battle of the Arvernes in the mid-5th century, where a combined Gallic army reportedly used knowledge of local terrain, innovative skirmishing derived from Celtic warfare, and disciplined Roman-style formations to decimate a larger Frankish force, or the Siege of Lyon, which saw Burgundian advances halted by coordinated urban defense and fortified supply lines, secured the core territories along the Seine, Loire, and Upper Rhone rivers. This state, initially perhaps a military confederation or republic, with elected leaders drawn from influential families and chieftains, successfully defended its borders and crucially maintained internal stability rare in the turbulent 5th and 6th centuries. It became a magnet for refugees, not just Gallo-Romans fleeing areas overrun by Germanic tribes, but also skilled artisans, administrators, even scholars from other parts of the crumbling Western Empire, bringing knowledge and expertise that further enriched the Gallic entity. Over centuries, this state solidified its power, evolving political structures, legal systems, and cultural identity into something truly distinct. A nation consciously blending Roman administrative efficiency and legal frameworks with a revitalized, evolving Celtic culture, social structure, and artistic sensibility. The consequences of this enduring Gallic state profoundly altered Western Europe. Frankish kingdoms that did emerge were confined to different territories, primarily east and northeast, following different historical trajectories, never consolidating into the vast, centralized realm that became France in our history. The geopolitical landscape was permanently shifted. The relationship between this powerful, stable Gallic state and the Visigothic kingdom in Iberia, the Burgundians, emergent states in Italy, and shifting tribal confederations in Germania involved constant negotiation, rivalry, alliance, and sometimes conflict, shaping the political map for over a millennium. The very notion of a dominant Frankish or later German-centric empire claiming the mantle of Rome was fundamentally altered. The Holy Roman Empire, as we know it, likely never formed in the same way, if at all. The balance of power and the historical narrative being so different. The history of the Catholic Church in Western Europe was also altered. While Christianity was the dominant religion in the Gallic state, a legacy of the late Roman period and successful evangelization, its relationship with the See of Rome and the wider church hierarchy developed within the context of a powerful, independent secular authority that commanded respect and could negotiate on equal footing, rather than emerging piecemeal under various, often newly converted, Germanic rulers. This unique relationship potentially led to different forms of church organization within the Gallic territories, perhaps fostering unique monastic traditions, emphasizing certain aspects of Celtic spirituality, or even subtle theological or liturgical variations compared to regions dominated by Germanic kingdoms, or later by different imperial powers. The Gallic Church remained in communion with Rome, but with a distinct national character shaped by its unique secular context and cultural heritage. Trade patterns and cultural exchange followed different routes, influenced by the stable borders, economic priorities, and unique production centers of the Gallic state and its neighbors. The great rivers of Gaul, Seine, Loire, Rhône remained vital arteries under Gallic control. When the age of exploration dawned, it involved a different set of European powers and the Gallic Republic. With its long coastline and legacy of both Roman-era infrastructure and potential maritime traditions carried forward from coastal Celtic groups, likely developed a strong maritime presence, participating in overseas ventures and global rivalries in ways distinct from our timeline. Colonial patterns and the eventual global political map would be irrevocably different. By 2025, the Gallic Republic stood as a mature, established major power in Europe. Its political system, while thoroughly modern with elected representatives and a complex bureaucracy, might subtly retain echoes of its foundational history. Perhaps a powerful upper house or council whose membership is drawn from or influenced by ancient regional lines or descendants of foundational families and tribal groups. Sitting alongside a popularly elected National Assembly, its territory encompassed much of historical Gaul, its well-defined borders forged over centuries of complex interaction, negotiation, and occasional conflict with neighbors. The dominant language, Yengali, was a complex, nuanced tongue, its Latin roots clearly visible but reshaped by the surviving and evolving Celtic substratum. Linguists outside the Republic studied its unique phonology, the guttural sounds and diphthongs mentioned, and its fascinating vocabulary and grammatical structures defying easy categorization with Romance languages to the south or Germanic languages to the east. Regional variations existed. And in some isolated or culturally conservative areas, particularly in western coastal regions akin to our Brittany or mountainous central areas, distinct surviving Celtic languages, perhaps descendants of Gaulish or localized tongues, were still spoken by communities, existing alongside and interacting with the dominant national language. Gallic culture was a vibrant, multifaceted blend of its dual heritage, a synthesis refined and reinterpreted across centuries. Roman concepts of rigorous law, efficient administration, and rational urban planning provided a robust framework, filled with content and character from Celtic traditions. Oral literature hadn't simply disappeared. It had evolved into rich, distinct forms of written poetry, epic tales, and theatrical performances retaining the rhythm and imagery of ancient storytelling. Mythology wasn't forgotten paganism. Its symbols, archetypes, and stories were woven into modern art, literature, film, and even national symbolism. The raven, the stag, the flowing spiral, not just historical motifs, but living cultural icons. Social organization, while within a modern national and economic structure, might subtly reflect older patterns of regional or even extended kinship loyalties, influencing local politics, community structures, or traditional craft guilds. Art and architecture continued as the most visible expression of this blend. Cities, many on Roman foundations, displayed layers reflecting this continuous synthesis. Roman baths might be preserved and integrated into modern public health complexes. Ancient hypocausts sometimes adapted for new heating technologies. Ancient temples, if not repurposed, might have stones incorporated into later buildings, their layouts influencing subsequent urban planning. New buildings, utilizing 21st century technology and materials, were designed with an aesthetic sensibility consistently referencing the past. Facades featuring abstract geometric patterns from Latin art, structural elements echoing Roman vaulting principles, executed with distinct, advanced stoneworking techniques developed in the early Gallic state period. Sculptural elements might blend classical forms with stylized Celtic representations of nature or mythical beings. Technology in the Gallic Republic reflected the priorities of a state with a long history of inheriting and developing sophisticated systems. Infrastructure. Vast networks of roads, bridges, aqueducts, some still used, adapted with modern filtration, and urban plumbing, built on Roman principles of durability and large-scale planning, was continuously maintained, expanded, and upgraded with modern materials, digital monitoring, and sustainable energy solutions. Military technology developed over centuries of defending borders and engaging in complex alliances and rivalries was advanced, focusing on defensive capabilities, rapid deployment, and strategic depth. Scientific inquiry developed within a unique intellectual tradition shaped by the blend of classical rationalism and potentially a more intuitive or nature-focused approach stemming from Celtic thought, leading to particular strengths in areas like materials science, hydrology, vital for managing river systems, and possibly bioengineering, influenced by ancient knowledge of plants and natural processes. Our story focuses on Dr. Cécile Dubois, a figure intrinsically linked to this layered history. As a leading architectural historian at the prestigious Grand Academy of Lutetia, she dedicated her career to understanding the palimpsest of her nation's cities, particularly how Roman and Celtic influences manifested in physical construction across centuries. Her office nestled within a beautifully preserved 17th-century building in the historic Latin Quarter, itself built on Roman foundations incorporating medieval structures, overlooked a small, quiet square. In its center, the robust moss-covered foundations of a Roman-era public fountain stood beside a smaller, elegant market building from the Gallic Renaissance period, its facade incorporating abstract motifs found in ancient Celtic jewelry, all bordered by modern, environmentally conscious structures designed with similar blended aesthetics. Cécile, often seen with a magnifying glass or a tablet displaying architectural schematics, was known for her meticulous attention to detail and her deep, almost personal connection to the past she studied. When deep in thought, tracing a complex pattern on her tablet screen with a finger, she would sometimes pause, captivated by a detail invisible to others. The simple silver pendant she wore, a stylized raven in flight, was a family heirloom, passed down from her grandmother, who hailed from a village in the Arvernian Highlands where old ways and stories were said to linger more strongly, instilling in Cécile from a young age a fascination with the deep roots of Gallic identity lying beneath the Roman veneer. Her current project was her most ambitious yet, using advanced 3D laser scanning and ground-penetrating radar not just to map, but to create extraordinarily detailed digital models of the subterranean layers beneath Lutetia's Ile de la Cité, the true historical nucleus of the city. She aimed to understand precisely how Roman fortifications, administrative buildings, and urban planning laid down in the first few centuries CE were integrated with, built upon, and potentially adapted by structures erected during the critical early Gallic state period, 5th to 7th century CE. This era was historically challenging, often relying on fragmented written records from later periods, as much above-ground construction from that turbulent time had been destroyed or built over. The underground offered a chance to see the foundations, literally and figuratively. Working late into the night in her office, city lights shimmering beyond the window, reflecting briefly on how even at this hour, Lutetia never truly slept. Perhaps she should pick up some of that crusty bread from the market tomorrow morning. Cécile monitored the final analysis run, processing terabytes of data from beneath the Ile. The initial scans had shown typical Roman infrastructure, sewer lines, building foundations, remnants of earlier structures. But as the software peeled back the digital earth layer by layer, processing the ground-penetrating radar returns, an anomaly appeared in the 6th century stratum. A series of complex, interconnected chambers and passages that didn't conform to known Roman layouts, or the cruder defensive tunnels sometimes associated with the turbulent post-imperial period elsewhere. Her breath hitched. She isolated the structures, rendering them in a stark wireframe against the map of older Roman construction. They were built with a combination of materials and techniques she recognized, but in an unexpected synthesis. There was undeniable presence of Roman concrete, the durable, hydraulic material defining imperial engineering, used in flooring and basic structural supports. But the walls themselves, and particularly the sophisticated vaulting supporting the ceilings of the larger chambers, were constructed with incredibly precise, advanced dressed stone. Blocks were cut and fitted with a level of accuracy minimizing mortar need, creating robust, self-supporting structures. This specific technique of stone dressing and the complex vault forms were not found in typical late Roman provincial construction. Nor did they resemble the simpler dry stone work or less refined masonry of contemporary Germanic kingdoms emerging elsewhere. Yet Cecile saw echoes, a certain geometric understanding, a precision fitting irregular shapes in the base layers of pre-Roman Gallic fortifications studied years ago. It was as if ancient knowledge of working raw stone had been elevated and applied using Roman organizational principles and materials. Zooming in, she examined the digital texture mapping from the laser scans. Along the walls of these functional, seemingly utilitarian chambers, faded by time and damp, but still clearly visible in high-resolution models, were intricate geometric patterns and stylized animal motifs. Not narrative scenes or Christian iconography typical of later periods, but abstract, flowing interlace, spiraling patterns drawing the eye inward, and stylized forms of stags, ravens, and horses, animals deeply symbolic in pre-Roman Celtic cultures. The artwork wasn't an afterthought. It was integrated into the very design of the walls. Cecile felt a jolt of adrenaline, a thrill running from her mind down to her fingertips hovering over the controls. This wasn't just shelter or storage. The layout, the interconnectedness, the evident planning. This suggested sophisticated organizational spaces, possibly administrative hubs, communication centers, or even military command posts, deliberately sited and built to utilize and integrate with the pre-existing Roman infrastructure of the island. Interface. Cecile instructed her AI assistant, a note of familiar urgency in her voice. Cross-reference construction techniques with known examples from the entire Gallic territory. 5th to 7th centuries. Compare stone dressing and vaulting patterns specifically against Roman military and civil engineering from the late Empire, and against archaeological data from major Gallic oppida pre-400 CE. Analyze decorative motifs against known Celtic art styles. Focus on portable art, metalwork, and carved stone from the Latin and immediate post-conquest periods in this region. The AI, drawing on extensive databases encompassing centuries of archaeological findings, historical texts, and architectural studies from across the Republic, processed the complex request. The analysis confirmed her initial breathtaking hypothesis. The building techniques displayed sophisticated, deliberate, successful blend of Roman engineering principles. Concrete for stability. Understanding of load distribution in vaulting forms. With advanced methods of stoneworking and fitting unique to the Gallic state in that specific period. These methods appeared a direct evolution, a technological leap forward, building upon pre-Roman Celtic knowledge of working stone and earth, now adapted to Roman materials, scale, and structural concepts. The artwork was undeniably Celtic, its motifs and style consistent with pre-Christian forms, incorporated not in a ritual context, but within functional, state-level administrative spaces. Cecile sank back in her chair, city lights blurring slightly as the magnitude of the finding washed over her. This wasn't just an architectural anomaly. This was hard, tangible evidence from the 6th century, a period often seen as one of chaos and decline elsewhere, of a political entity capable of executing large-scale, sophisticated infrastructure projects, requiring centralized planning, significant resources, and advanced technical knowledge. More importantly, it showed how they built it by actively and successfully blending legacies of Roman administrative organization and engineering know-how with their own deep, sophisticated Celtic building traditions and vibrant cultural identity. This explained in part the resilience, the distinct character, the sheer endurance of the Gallic Republic across 15 centuries. They hadn't just survived Rome's fall, they had taken its pieces and forged something new, strong, and uniquely their own, drawing power from indigenous roots. Her initial excitement gave way to a fierce sense of purpose. This discovery, made possible by advanced technology peeling back layers of time, would fundamentally reshape understanding of her country's origins, pushing back concrete evidence of sophisticated synthesis by centuries. It highlighted in the most physical way possible how the specific, unique fragmentation of the Western Roman Empire in their world, allowing a strong, unified Gallo-Roman Celtic state to emerge from the crucible of the 5th century, had created a nation whose identity, language, whose very physical cities were a deep, enduring, powerful blend of these two potent legacies. The stones didn't just speak of the past, they explained the present. Looking out at the vibrant, complex city standing as a living testament to 15 centuries of this distinct history, feeling the familiar silver raven pendant cool against her skin, Cecile felt the weight of that past and the profound significance of uncovering its hidden layers. Her work, revealing the architectural and cultural roots of her nation's unique identity, was a direct consequence of the specific path taken when the Western Roman Empire fractured differently so long ago. The Gallic Republic endured, a vibrant, distinct entity in 2025, a major power whose unique cultural blend continued to shape its future on the stage of Europe and the globe. But for Cecile, right now, the future was in the past, deep beneath the Ile de la Cité. This was only the preliminary scan. There were likely more chambers, more passages. She needed to draft the urgent request for physical excavation permits for Sector C immediately. Dr. Moreau in geophysics had mentioned intriguing soil density readings there weeks ago, dismissed at the time as likely natural anomalies. Now, Cecile knew better. The stones had yielded a secret, and she was just beginning to listen.